This portion of the John Fredericks Show is brought to you by Hargrave Military Academy. Attend an educational and informative open house event at Hargrave Military Academy in Chatham, Virginia. For more information, visit online at hargrave.edu. Hargrave Military Academy. Build his future.
Representative from Virginia's 9th District, Republican Morgan Griffith. He's now the new Liberty rock star of Virginia. Representative Griffith, great to have you with us.
Great to be with you. How are you this morning?
Doing fantastic. Boy, we got some big issues to cover, sir. And I got to tell you, right in the middle of it, I want to start with the article that you had published a week ago in the British newspaper The Guardian, where you were saying that there's a problem with just getting members of Congress basic information about the NSA surveillance program. Great piece, by the way. Where are we on that, sir?
Well, the bottom line is this. The president and others in Congress came out and said that this program was being overseen by Congress, and it had great oversight. And so I said, okay, wait a minute. I haven't seen all of these things. I've been to some meetings and so forth, but I haven't seen all these things. And, of course, one of the things that I'm concerned about is I do believe that collecting all of the phone records of all Americans is a violation of the Fourth Amendment and is a general warrant, which is abhorrent to the Founding Fathers. Mm. And so I wanted to see the court records, the documents, and what the court's reasoning was, because, we have the secret agency that's overseen by the FISA court, which is a secret court, that's then reviewed by the Intel Committee, and they give a report to the Judiciary Committee, but really it's the Intel Committee that has the basic oversight. So I asked the Intel Committee for the legal opinions of the FISA court on a couple of different matters, all of which opinions were discussed in the media, and that would now be today, 6 weeks ago, that I made that request. And as of now, we have not gotten authority from the Intel Committee to review those documents. So what I have indicated is I'm still hopeful that I will get to see those documents, because in order to strike the right balance between the Fourth Amendment and the protection of U.S. citizens, I need to know what the reasoning of the court was in allowing the seizure of all those records from Verizon and other telephone carriers.
I mean, for anybody, Congressman, on the street, that makes perfect sense. I mean, you made a statement in the article, which I thought was telling us that if I can't get basic information about these programs, then I can't do my job, right?
That's exactly right. I took an oath to uphold the Constitution. I'm attempting to do so. But if I can't see what the FISA court opinion is into why they thought this was not a violation of the Fourth Amendment, I don't know how I can construct a fix to the problem that I think we have with the government collecting too much data and storing it in a warehouse out in Utah somewhere.
No question. And I do want to point out to my audience that this is not a partisan request, because also Democratic Congressman Alec Grayson of Florida has joined you in the complaint. And all you're doing, which is, this is just befuddling to me. All you're doing is asking for basic information. You're an elected member of the United States House of Representatives, and they're not providing you with access. How is that even legal?
Well, I suppose it's legal, but it's certainly not proper. The problem is that, I can't do my job properly if I can't see these court opinions. To see them, I would have to sign another oath, and we do this every time we go look at secret documents, saying that I would not reveal this, any of the classified parts of it. And I understand that, because there may be material inside. One of the opinions we know is 80-plus pages long. There may be material in there which is highly classified. I understand that. But it's not my intent to reveal any improper information. It's my intent to get to the legal reasoning of the court so that I can craft what I believe to be a proper legislative fix to what I see as an overreach by the government.
No question. Congressman, the potential surveillance information that now many are claiming, some of your colleagues on both sides of the aisle claiming now that it's because of the NSA surveillance program that we got this so-called chatter. We've all heard the clips now of Republican from Georgia, the retiring Senator Saxby Chambliss. We've heard Peter King, et cetera, saying, well, it's because of this NSA surveillance that we intercepted this chatter, that there was this big attack being planned, so we've shut our embassies down. Now, there's some of us that are suspect about this information. The timing of it, it seems to be certainly coincidental, to say the least. And so you're scratching your head and saying, is this real? Is it because of this surveillance that we intercepted this stuff? Would we have had it anyway? Or is it the dog wagging the tail? What is it? What do you think?
Well, I don't have any reason to be suspicious of these gentlemen who are on those committees that get these reports. I would point out, however, to folks that the two issues that we're talking about are, in fact, two completely separate issues. What they're talking about are some of the foreign surveillance issues, and, of course, what I'm trying to get at is collecting data on American citizens on American soil and saving that data for years in a big warehouse. So I think to the extent that folks are trying to say, Griffith and others are wrong, this puts us in harm, I think that's an error, because as I understand it, it's the foreign surveillance programs, which is a little bit different than this telephone collection of metadata, as they call it. Those are two different animals, and we shouldn't confuse them. I don't have any problem if they want to listen in or collect data on al-Qaeda operatives in Yemen. That doesn't bother me a bit.
Right.
Now, you make it somebody in Portsmouth or Salem, Virginia, okay, wait a minute. Do you have a search warrant, or are you following the Constitution? That's what I want to know.
Right, but wouldn't you agree, Congressman Griffith, that those that are in favor of continuing this surveillance are attempting to mix the argument up, so that if you are looking at this with a cursory view, basically you're drawing the conclusion that, okay, well, we're getting this surveillance, but it's because of that maybe we're intercepting this chatter and lives are being saved. I mean, at the end of the day, the reason I'm concerned that it'll be so hard to stop this is because that'll always be the argument. Well, we need that to save lives, right?
Well, that is always the argument, and my response to that is that we have to try to do everything we can to protect American citizens from terrorists of any type or ilk. That being said, we also have to make sure that we protect our civil liberties, because if we let our freedom slip through our fingers, then what we have done is we have betrayed all of those folks who have fought and died for the American way of life. A big part of being an American is to be one of the folks who live in the land of the free. And if we're going to sacrifice that, then I'm not sure that it's worth it. Now, I think we can do both. I think we can protect American citizens and defend our freedoms in the Constitution. But in order to do so, I have to be able to get the material that I need so that I can sit down and think through what the proper fix ought to be.
Well, I tell you what, Representative Griffith, I have to commend you for your courage and being one of the few members in Congress that are trying to bring the truth out so that we have all the information. And one of the things I was saying earlier that really has me up at night, and it started over the weekend, I'm 55. And so for really the first time in my life, when I started to turn the Sunday talk shows on and over the weekend get all this information coming out, I didn't believe representatives in my government. Now for somebody like me, I don't know what to believe. And so I've at 55, I haven't ever been in this position where I get a friend of mine like Saxby Chambliss on. He's a good friend of mine, and I don't know if he's telling the truth or not. Isn't that a real problem? And I don't think it's only for me.
Well, and I hope that they are telling the truth. I know that there are concerns out there, and I don't have any reason to doubt him or any of the others in their belief that what they're doing is the right thing to try to protect Americans. That being said, one of the ways that you can make folks feel better is if you reveal the information at least to those other folks who happen to be in Congress, so that those of us who are elected to do our jobs and protect the Constitution, as it says in our oath, can actually feel comfortable that we're seeing the information that we need to craft a proper response for the American people and to have that balance between our freedoms and our security.
Congressman, EB5, Green Tech, Terry McAuliffe, you've weighed in on this. What do you make of it?
Well, I think it's fairly simple. Folks have seemed to disregard or not pay attention to the fact that, he could have brought those jobs to Virginia, but he has a reason why he took them to Mississippi instead. And then folks heard that he might have used his contacts in D.C. to try to get a Chinese businessman a green card that was somewhat questionable, and folks have somewhat disregarded that. But now he's being investigated by the Securities and Exchange Commission for making guarantees in his pitch to get investments in that business. And I don't know whether that's true or not, but in essence what he's being investigated for is making promises that he can't keep or couldn't keep. And it seems to me that's the same thing he's doing in this gubernatorial campaign. Wherever he goes, he's making promises, and a lot of those promises he'll never be able to keep. But he's doing what some politicians do and just saying what he thinks folks want to hear. And so we raised that yesterday in a little statement and said, hey, wait a minute, this is a guy who's being investigated by a federal agency for making promises to people to get their money that he couldn't keep, and now he's doing the same, I believe, to get votes. Well,
there's no doubt that he's a wheeler dealer, and what I've been saying for 2 weeks is the GOP apparatus of Virginia is certainly spending a lot of time and effort on what I've coined the Terry is a creep campaign. I'm not sure how that's going to play in the fall. We'll have to see how it turns out. But look, there's no question if you follow Terry McAuliffe's career, he certainly makes a lot of promises, and he's raised, an ungodly amount of money for people that he's backed over some time. He's certainly got the gift of gab. So there isn't anything that he's done that is surprising to people. Do you really think that come November, come October, this is going to turn into a campaign issue of substance?
Well, I don't know, and prior to the SEC investigation being revealed, I probably would have agreed with you, because I do think that, while I don't agree with it, I think people could, say, yeah, that's just normal stuff. But, while making campaign promises you can't keep may be standard fare, having the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, investigate you for making guarantees is a violation of their rules, and that ought to be a very interesting investigation. I think that gives this a little more merit than some of the others. Not that I would have agreed with Terry McAuliffe on it, but
right.
I think the people might say, wait a minute, that's a little bit of a horse of a different color.
We're going to see how it plays out, and we appreciate your weighing in. Final question, this EB5 program as a whole, do you think it's a good idea?
I do. Obviously you have to look for, make sure you don't have abuses, but what we want to do is encourage people with brain power and with money to bring that money to the United States and to bring that brain power here. So if we can get both brain power and investments in our country where they're going to create jobs, I think that's a great thing. We certainly can use those jobs in Southwest Virginia, where 20 years ago, Southern and Southwest Virginia, the main industries were furniture manufacturing, textiles, coal, tobacco, and agriculture. We still have agriculture. Coal's under assault. Textiles have been decimated. Furniture's been decimated, and tobacco's been decimated. So we could certainly use the jobs in Southwest Virginia, and we really wish that if Terry McAuliffe wanted to leave Virginia, that he had thought about that when he took those jobs to Mississippi. But, that's one of those things. But we hope that other folks that are looking at perhaps bringing some new jobs into the United States of America will take a look at Virginia, and particularly Southwest.
Hey, Congressman, we're out of time, but I do want to encourage our listeners to sign up for your weekly newsletter, which I've signed up for it. I get a lot of things in my inbox. That is one of the first things I read. If people want to sign up for that, Congressman, where do they go?
www.morgangriffith.house.gov.
Okay. Sir, as always, we appreciate the time. Keep up the good work, sir. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Have a great day.